Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited. Damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh!
Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will, Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome. This is Freaky Friday on the Arrowhead Addict channel. Everybody's working for the weekend, but you can't let go and relax until you get your pure, unfiltered Chiefs fill. We're here to do that for you. I'm here, of course, with my co-host Sterling Holmes and producer Richard helping us out behind the scenes. Sterling, my man, how you doing?
Yeah, can't wait to fill everyone up.
Phrasing.
With Chiefs talk, of course. With Chiefs talk.
Yeah. With goodness, nothing but goodness. Are you an NBA fan? Have you been watching any of the playoffs?
Massive NBA fan. Again, I worked for the 76ers for 3 years. OKC is what you do when you get the process right. The Sixers is what you get when you do the process wrong. I love watching Oklahoma City. If you're in Kansas City, I'm sure a lot of Chiefs fans are OKC fans because it's the closest local team, right? They're enjoyable to watch. They're old school, a lot of mid-range to their game. Great defense, 1 through 10 guys, which is also fun because the Pacers are like that as well. Pacers, not maybe on the defensive side quite as much, but they go 1 through 10 very deep. They are a team that shares the ball very, very well. Again, if you are a fan of older 90s, 2000s ball, you should like these teams that are left. The Knicks are that grinded out, kind of gritty, very physical team. I know that first game, the scoring was very, very high. It also went to overtime, and that was culminated with the Pacers' eruption of a comeback. But yeah, man, I'm a huge fan of the NBA. OKC up 2-0. They look nearly unstoppable. Again, that's why they went 68-14 in the regular season. First time, I think, in NBA history that in 7 straight years, there'll be 7 new NBA champions. So parity right now is king.
It is. And I have to admit, my basketball fandom has lapsed. I'm a completionist. So as I've gotten older and more busy and my interests have become more varied, I can't watch all 82 games. I grew up a diehard Pacers fan. When I was in college, I watched all 82 games. Reggie Miller, along with Derek Thomas, those were my 2 favorite athletes growing up. Bo Jackson was the other one, which was complicated. But for me, who grew up just idolizing Reggie Miller, to see Tyrese Halliburton hit a 3 to send the game to overtime and do the Reggie Miller choke with Reggie Miller in the Garden, the same place where 30 years ago he did the same thing to Spike Lee, and then that maniacal laugh, that was special. I mean, the Knicks, Pacers, the Bulls were obviously the biggest story of the 90s, but I would argue that the second biggest story were those Knicks-Pacers rivalries in the 90s. I mean, maybe Hakeem Olajuwon, maybe the Utah Jazz, but yeah, this reminds me of those years in the 90s. All you need is Marv Albert, right?
Yeah, it's all you need. Well, Marv Albert calling games, at least.
Yeah, let's not get too into that. The extracurricular with old Marv. Yes. You can probably do a good Marv Albert.
We're not going to do it here.
Bang! We're not going to do it.
There's your Mike Breen.
I like the double bang where he's like, bang, bang. That's when he's
bang. Onions.
Okay. We've got a great show for you guys today. We're going to bring back one of our favorite segments, have a lot of fun with it. I know Sterling really is into this one as well. But before that, we have a little bit of business for you.
Yeah, I've talked about it over the past couple of shows, and I believe in this one. I've talked about I really, really like this sponsorship we are partnering with Factor on, because I absolutely love Factor meals. You can make this your best season yet with nutritious 2-minute meals from Factor. Eating well has never been this easy. Just heat up and enjoy, giving you more time to do what you want. So get outside instead of prepping and cooking indoors. Fresh, ready to eat, and it's perfect for any active lifestyle. With 45 weekly menu options, you can pick gourmet meals that fit your goals. Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, much more. I do Chef's Choice. I trust the chefs over there at Factor. They just pick all 6 for me. I say, I trust you, and they're always damn good. They power your day with satisfying breakfasts, on-the-go lunches, premium dinners, and guilt-free snacks and desserts. So it's easy to savor more this spring. Factor meals pack in the flavor with none of the fuss. If you are someone who is constantly busy, I know I'm a very busy person myself. You don't always love cooking, especially lunches. I'm sitting here going, what am I going to eat? What am I going to eat? And Factor is the perfect thing. Again, doing radio breaks are about 5 minutes long. It gives me time to run down to the mini fridge. It's actually the one that Briscoe left at the radio station. I grab it, head down to the break room, throw that puppy in for 2 minutes. Next thing you know, I have an absolutely delicious, healthy meal from Factor. Again, massive fan. You can get started right now at factormeals.com/arrowhead50 off and use code arrowhead50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code arrowhead50 off at factormeals.com/arrowhead50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. Again, I'm telling you, if you try Factor, you will love it.
I'm going to have to try that out, man. I'm on a little bit of a keto kick myself. Like Travis Kelce, I've been trying to drop some weight. I've dropped about 25 pounds. And you get older, man, it's harder to fight them off. We'll get into that, by the way, into this segment. I guess that's a good – go ahead.
Yeah, I want to bring it before you get in. I just saw this great comment from the Campbell Cooks. Happy Friday, gentlemen. Will KC be adding any free agents before training camp? Happy Friday to you as well. It'll be after June 1st. It'll be after June 1st because prior to June 1st, those players get added into the compensatory pick breakdown, right? Chiefs don't want to do that. You don't want to do that because right now they're probably at about a wash. DeAndre Hopkins going to the Ravens, Tershawn Wharton obviously going to the Panthers. They brought in a couple guys as well. So if they do bring in any free agents, it will be, at least in my opinion, post June 1st.
And a lot of these veterans, they just like to lay back in the cut, wait it out, miss as much of the summer as they can. You know, you get into your 30s, you don't want to do all the mini camps and all these guys are pretty much just good to show up and roll. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the extreme example of that, where that guy just doesn't want to do anything but show up. But a lot of defensive ends, a lot of edges are like that. They're like, my job is easy. I'm just a mercenary pass rusher. Call me in June or July and let's make this happen. Yeah. So after far too long of a break, it's time to return to the trading floor, guys. Welcome back to the Kansas City stock market.
Greed, for lack of a better word, is good.
Fugazi, Fugazi, it's a wazi, it's a woozy, it's a fairy dust.
Tell me the difference between stupid and illegal, and I'll have my wife's brother arrested.
So for any new viewers or listeners, the way this works is it's basically buy or sell, but we call it pump or dump, a little bit more fun. I'm going to throw out a statement. Sterling and I will throw out a statement. We alternate. And then the other one will have to say pump or dump, how much we agree with that statement and to what degree. So I'll start us off here. Trent McDuffie is a top 5 corner, either inside or out, but having him play nickel is the skeleton key that unlocks the Steve Spagnuolo defense. Pump or dump?
This is a really good question, and I'm glad you threw that in. He's top 5 either way. He's top 3 probably either way. He's number 1 slot corner, and he's probably top, maybe top 5 outside corner, right? Maybe 4. I kind of want to dump because I don't know if it unlocks the Spags defense. I'm kind of on the fence, and I hate it because I normally am pretty strong in my convictions on this one. I don't know how much he elevates the defense when he's playing the slot versus the outside, because I think on this particular defense, he makes more sense in the slot. While in previous years, like let's say when L'Jarius Sneed was in Kansas City, he made more sense on the outside, right? So I think it all depends on the roster construction. I guess I'm talking myself into pumping because the way this current Chiefs roster is constructed, with him making more sense on the inside, it does make this Chiefs defense better, which in turn makes Spags able to do more things. So I guess in this upcoming particular season, I'll say pump, but in the grand scheme of things, I think either way, inside or outside, he's just so damn good, and Spags can find ways to get production elsewhere. It doesn't typically matter, but this given year, I'll say slight pump.
I'm a big pump too, and it's a little confusing because he is PFF's top graded corner since 2023, and that includes last year, that collective 89.7 grade. So obviously very good outside, but I think his one only weakness is more exposed outside. And you see that manifest itself against guys like Courtland Sutton and against guys like A.J. Brown. They're just too big. Sometimes they're just too big. We even saw it with the Buffalo Bills and the shoeless wonder. Not even going to mention the name. This harkens back to L'Jarius Sneed, because L'Jarius Sneed was masterful in the slot. And I think as a nickel, that position is going to be more consistent year over year than being an outside corner, which is the ultimate roller coaster position in all football. But also inside, you can influence the game more. Both Sneed and McDuffie are just masterful blitzers. And I would say A+ tacklers, A+ in the run fit, which given McDuffie's size, I mean, that is heroic football. I mean, every football fan for any team should be a Trent McDuffie fan, the way he plays. But I think that was missing last year. You had Shamari Connor more in the slot, not as good of a coverage guy, doesn't have the same wheels, doesn't have the same instincts, not as good of a blitzer. I think Trent McDuffie is the best nickel guy in the entire NFL. He is an A++ player there. You move him outside, some games he's an A-, some games he's a B+. I think in this system where the Chiefs play a lot of quarters and they have those bigger athletic boundary corners with the sideline as their friend, and they're sending a lot of blitzes, I just think they can find more guys to do that than they can this like specialist, very smart, very cerebral Steve Spagnuolo slot. So I think it is the skeleton key that unlocks everything.
I like it from Sam in the chat. What might actually unlock the Spags defense is regularly getting pressure rushing for. Yeah, that's also the key. That makes life so much easier. Good call, Sam. All right. Rashee Rice was second in the NFL last season in yards per route run at 3.16. He can sustain that level of play for an entire season. Pump or dump?
It's a very slight pump. I just think this offense is so good at manufacturing specifically for a player of his mold. It's not just yes, he's a power slot, but he's that like 50% of the time. But he's a player that they are moving around and getting in bunches and getting isolated. And they're trying to get him the ball quickly and in motion, because Rashee Rice is one of the most fluid catchers of the football I've ever seen. He is not on par as an overall player with Ja'Marr Chase and Deebo Samuel, but when it comes to like hauling in the football,
he's better than Deebo. I will not hear that. He's not better than Ja'Marr Chase. He's better than Deebo Samuel. People have this Deebo Samuel because he had one really good year and because he can occasionally run the football. I implore people to actually look up Deebo Samuel stats and then come back to me in regards to the talk of elite.
I was mainly talking about Chase, but I think he is a better player than Deebo Samuel right now. Deebo is a very hard player to quantify because the surplus value of what he was doing in the running game. It just depends how much you use him as a running back. I think he's more of a specialist than Rashee Rice. I think Rashee Rice is somewhere in between Deebo Samuel and Ja'Marr Chase as a route runner, but he's the guy you want to really get manufactured touches to, because like I was saying, his ability to haul in the ball and instantly get upfield in a fluid motion, and that elite burst, that 1 149 10-yard split, which is about as good as it gets, and was number one among receivers in his class, which the next guy we're going to talk about also has that same 10-yard split, which is kind of like the Chiefs have a type. They definitely have a type. And Sammy Watkins was a little bit like that too. He was a very bursty player. So I just think this system is set up for him to succeed. And you look at the guy who was ahead of him, Puka Nacua. Now they're a little bit different players, but a similar guy. They like to get him the ball on the move and let him rack up yak. They're both very rugged, tough, physical guys that defenders don't want to tackle. So I think this is not saying Rashee Rice is some route running savant. This is about saying he is one of the best in the game at getting the ball quickly and racking up yak. And I think it's sustainable. So yeah. I am pumping.
I'm pumping as well. He had some of the best yak numbers since he's come into the NFL. I mean, they've been absurd, his yak ability. And in this Chiefs offense, that's what they go with. And now you might say, well, will it take a back seat because there'll be more targets to Hollywood and Xavier? You can make the case for that, but I also think that just opens up and makes it easier underneath for Rashee Rice. I think he'll be even more efficient. Even if the target share might go down, the efficiency will go up. Yeah, I'm all in on Rashee Rice. I really am. I think this is the year that people are going to start talking about him as a legitimate wide receiver one.
Would have been last year. I think at the time he went down, only Nico Collins was higher in the statistic than in yards per route run than Rashee Rice. And again, just one kind of stat, but he was having an incredible year among the league leaders in every statistic. So next up, Jalen Royals' profile is too similar to Rice's for the rookie to come in and be a difference maker in year one. Pump or dump?
It's a tough question because I don't know if the similarities to Rice don't matter to me. But I guess the question is too similar. I'll pump because I don't think he's a difference maker year one. It's not that I don't like Jalen Royals, but there's one football. I like Jalen Royals. And, maybe Rice doesn't get suspended this year. There's some rumblings that maybe he doesn't because the Texas, how it works down in Texas and the legal system and how it's really not progressed anywhere. So what are you going to suspend him for? Because there's nothing going on in the legal system down there so far. It hasn't progressed any farther. So if that's the case, maybe it's 2026 when he actually gets suspended. I mean, these are realistic possibilities. So if he plays the whole season, then there's really no room for him to get on the field that much because you have Hollywood, you have Xavier, you have Rashee. You're going to run some 12 personnel with Travis and Noah Gray still, right? Jared Wiley's coming back. We probably think Brendan Sewell's making the roster, so that's the case. He might take a smattering of snaps again in 12 personnel. Juju Smith-Schuster's your blocking wide receiver, and he'll still get a little bit of run. We know that. We know Juju is going to get at least a smattering of snaps here and there. So I don't see, and it's not a knock on Royals. Like Xavier and Rashee, they had to be like the guy year one because of circumstances and injuries. The Chiefs don't need that with Royals. That's a good spot to be in. So for that reason, I am pumping and saying that Royals won't be a difference maker year one.
Yeah, I'm going to pump as well, reluctantly, because I think he's a really good player. And the similarities to, which you mentioned, to Rice are really uncanny. Same 10-yard split, similar body style, even down to a foot injury, kind of muting their last year in college and affecting their draft stock. So it's not just the Rashee role blocking him from getting on the field that I think is stopping him, because you're seeing a lot of smart teams want multiple players like this on the field with what the NFL defenses are doing, that like too high stuff, eliminate explosive plays. They want a lot of guys, not just slots, but guys that can hang around the line of scrimmage, reel in the ball quick, get upfield. You're seeing it. I mean, you did see it in Los Angeles with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, but now you're seeing it in Seattle with JSN and Cooper Kupp. You're seeing it. Look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers drafting Emeka Egbuka, who is startlingly similar to Chris Godwin. They are super samesies. And then you look at the Raiders. They added Jack Besh to Brock Bowers, and Jacoby Myers. So these kind of players can interface together. You've made this point in the past that even the highest used slots in the NFL are 50, 60, maybe 65%. So you have a lot of other room to move guys in and out the slot and use these players together. And like you pointed out, if Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy can stretch the field a little bit more and be a little bit more vertical, get on the same page with Mahomes in a way they weren't last year, that's going to open things up underneath. I do think maybe Travis Kelce playing less snaps will give him some opportunity, but blocking is a big deal to Andy Reid. So Juju Smith-Schuster, I don't think it matters what he's doing as long as he is blocking his ass off and doing that one or two right place, exactly right time thing that Juju does, where just like he could step on a landmine and no one else would die. I don't know how Juju does it, but he just has an incredible knack for finding holes in zones. So I just don't think there are going to be enough snaps. But if Rashee Rice isn't himself, I think this is fantastic insurance because the Chiefs really need this archetype of player for their offense to go.
Trey Smith has been a dominant run blocker and will reward the Chiefs' faith by growing into an equally strong pass blocker. Pump or dump?
Oh, I'm so on the fence here. I think I'm going to be a light pump and with the qualifier. And my qualifier is I expect this to happen gradually. He was a mauler coming in to the NFL. And to me, the Chiefs betting on him over Joe Thuney, who Joe Thuney is not as good of a run blocker. I don't think that's even a conversation, but he's arguably the best pass blocking guard in the NFL. I think he is the best pass blocking guard in the NFL. So for the Chiefs, who are very much a pass first team, to bet on Trey Smith over Joe Thuney, yes, that is a little bit about age, but I also think it speaks volumes in terms of how they project the development of Trey Smith as a pass blocker, because I think a lot of that is technique and know-how and getting the reps. And remember, guys, he's still very young. He's still very, what is he, 20, 26 years old max, something like that. So offensive linemen really don't peak at this age. I don't think he's going to be in his prime until
he's 24. He just turned 24.
Okay. So he's even younger than I thought. I knew he was young. I just didn't remember he was that young. So guys, he's got a lot of time ahead of him. And I think by the time he's 28.
Oh, wait, sorry. Trey Smith. I was looking up Carl Loftus. I'm an idiot. I'm dumb. I was looking ahead.
It's Friday, baby.
Sorry, everyone. I was dumb. I was looking ahead on the show sheet, and I was like, yeah. No, Trey Smith is 25. He's about to turn 26.
Okay, so I was right. Still, in offensive line years, if he was a running back, he would be an elder statesman, but he is an offensive lineman who's got, I don't know, 8 good years ahead of him or something like that. So I think he's going to get there. I just don't expect it to like magically be this year. Where are you at, Sterling?
Yeah, I'm more on the dump side than the pump side. He's always going to be an elite run blocker. I don't know about the pass block side, and I don't know if it'll ever catch the run block side. Also because the run block is so good that it makes it hard to catch the run block side, right? It's kind of a, well, good luck catching it because that one trait you have is so outlandishly good, it's almost impossible to catch that. Also, more or less, he's kind of been the same pass blocking since he's came into the league. He's improved a little, but it's not even necessarily a knock on him. I'm more or less talking about Andy Heck with the coaching staff. We haven't seen guys develop. They come in and they're great, and then they're great here. Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith. Guys come in. We haven't really seen a guy get better in a long time, so for me to bet on that seems foolhardy. So I'm not going to. Again, it's not a bad thing. I still think Trey Smith is a really good player. I'm a little concerned about the lack of talk in regards to a contract extension. It's still franchise tag, and okay, it's why I said we can pull tape, check tape. I would have kept Joe Thuney and traded Trey, but that's a different conversation. It is what it is. Sunk cost at this point, but yeah, Trey Smith's a really good player. really, really, really good player. I hope something does get done. He is an elite run blocker, and I think at best he becomes a really good pass blocker. Right now, he's a good pass protector.
Aside here, but I don't think anybody playing on the franchise tag generally is a wise allocation of resources. You can't kick the can down the road at all when it comes to the salary cap. It's just going to be a 20-something $1 million hit this year, no matter what. And then you're looking at the same problem next season. And if they were so on the fence about Trey that they don't want to extend him long-term, then you shouldn't have let Joe Tooney go. I just think this is how the Chiefs do business. They're kind of sticklers on these big contracts, and it's a little annoying, but let's hope something gets done. Okay, Omar Norman-Lott and Ashton Gelati plus a healthy Charles Omenihu will lower Chris Jones' snap count, allowing him to be even more dominant. Pump or dump?
I think dump. I wanted to say pump because I actually do think the Chiefs defensive line on paper is a lot better this year. I know the loss of Turk Wharton's pretty darn big, but you couple that with a healthy Charles Omenihu and Omar Norman-Lott and Ashton Gelati, and I like it. The issue I have is there's still no one to take those early down reps. I don't think you're going to have Tillery and Omar Norman-Lott on the field at the same time. I don't think you're going to have Mike Pennell. You might have him and Jerry Tillery or him and Omar Norman-Lott, but that probably wouldn't be until later in the year for Omar. Yeah, I don't see, at least on the interior, on early downs, Chris Jones being able to take a lot of snaps off. I get the thought process that the pass rush overall should be better, right? The pass rush should be better. But on first and second down, I don't know how they take Chris Jones off the field or how any of these pass rush specialists alleviate that concern. I don't think it's a bad thing the Chiefs are in a bad situation. I guess I'm dumping.
I'm going to dump too. I think Chris Jones was as dominant as ever last season. The sack numbers just didn't manifest. I mean, the pass rush win rate and the pressure numbers. At one point, he was ahead of Myles Garrett and everybody else for pressures, and then he got hurt. I think around Christmas, he got hurt and didn't take home the pressure title. But, sacks are kind of fluky. I like to look at pressure numbers. That's one of the reasons I'm encouraged with the playoff run. The next person we'll talk about but I think Charles Omenihu to me is the key here, because I thought the other guys, not just Chris Jones, but particularly the other edges, looked better once Charles Omenihu came back because they were playing too many snaps. I think we've seen with teams like the Eagles keeping those guys fresh and just rotating them in waves is the modern success formula for pass rushing success. So I think it can't hurt, but I'm with you. Also, losing Derek Nottie, I think we complained about his recent play, but they could really use another run plugger in my estimation.
Yeah. This is the 24-year-old I was talking about. George Karlaftis took a step forward in the playoffs, leading the team with 15 pressures and 4 sacks. He will take another leap forward in 2025. Pump or dump?
I'm going to dump. I think he's really a pretty fully realized player. It's not like a massive dump or a hardcore dump. It is, I wasn't like thrilled with the way he started last season. And I do think when Charles Omenihu came in and they weren't putting as much on his plate, he looked a lot better. He looked a lot fresher. His number, like pass rush win rate, the pressures went up. I think he was like 14th in pressures last year, which that's pretty good. That's about, I just think that might be his ceiling, is like the 14th best pass rusher in football, which very, very good. Even for a late first round pick, you will take that every day of the week. I do like that his play elevated in the postseason, that he stepped it up a notch. I think that is a good omen. I don't know. I just think I wasn't thrilled with the way he started last season. I went into last year saying, I really think George Karlaftis is going to make the jump. I didn't see it. So now I'm a little hesitant to make that bet.
I'm pumping. And I don't don't know about the pressure numbers, but I think the sack numbers will rise this year. I'm pretty in on Karlaftis. He's 24, man. This is why I wanted the Chiefs to draft him. That was the one that I was thrilled, because I was talking about Karlaftis all the way up to that draft, saying this is the guy I want. And people were like, "No, man, you want like Boye Mafia. You want these guys with the upside." I go, Karlaftis is like 2 years younger and at least has some sort of pedigree. He's done it before. He's done it in college. I was all in on Karlaftis. I'm still all in on Karlaftis. He is so efficient. He is a little Frank Clark-esque of what we were promised of Frank Clark, the motor that never quits, being able to play so many darn snaps, not as bendy as Frank Clark, but he's been able to stay healthier than Frank. Yeah, man, I'm all in on Karlaftis. I'll say around 12 sacks this year seems to be in line with probably my thought process, which would be a step forward. So yes, I'm all in on George.
I remember a lot of fans also wanted Jermaine Johnson, who went to the Jets, hasn't made as much noise. So I think it was a good pick, and you're right to counter with him being this young. I think people have always talked a little bit about George Karlaftis like he's a finished product, like he's a hustle guy and not a traits guy, but he's still a young player who honestly hasn't had as much football in his past as a lot of his contemporaries, right?
That was my whole point. Everyone's like, yeah, he seems like a finished product. You mean the 20-year-old from college who's like learning football, who was playing water polo before? That guy is the finished product? What are we doing here? I get that the body and the athleticism wasn't the same as some of the other guys, but I'm like, dog. I never understood the argument heading into the draft with Karlaftis. I was always all in, and I'm glad right now, at least, I'm on the strong side of the George Karlaftis history.
You are, and I think the deeper I go into like talking about football, covering football, I'm appreciating the power guys more that don't have as much flash, because I mean, really, how many Von Millers or Myles Garretts are there? Freaks of nature that have the power, have an entire arsenal of moves, and have that bend.
There's like 7 guys. There's like 7 dudes tops.
Not even that. And a lot of the guys that have bend are like Nick Benito, who I like as a player, but he's a specialist. He can't like no run fit, like Karlaftis does. Can't play as many snaps. So I think Spags having his like power edge type that he defaults to again and again and again can be a little frustrating. It's not the sexiest thing in the world. We'd like a speed changeup. But generally, this is what works. And I think George Karlaftis is probably a little bit underrated because he doesn't have like the sexiest athleticism in the world. Okay, next up. Spags likes a highly paid cerebral safety leading his defense. Now that he doesn't have that guy, the secondary will have more hiccups. And of course, talking about Justin Reed, who departed for the Saints, talking about Tyrann Mathieu, who also departed for the Saints. I mean, even Daniel Sorensen, who also departed for the Saints. What do you think? Pump or dump, Sterling?
Oh, man. This is... I'll say slight pump early in the year. Yeah, I'll say that. They still have Nick Bolton, so I'm not worried there. That's not the secondary, but that's kind of the whole defense still. But yeah, I've talked about that. And that's why I said they'll probably bring in a veteran guy like Mike Edwards, and then it ended up being Mike Edwards. But yeah, I'll say a slight pump. I think there'll be a few struggles early on, even if I do think the secondary as a whole is almost, if not more talented than any we have seen. And there's been some talented secondaries for KC recently. There really have been. But I'm all in on Noel Williams. I'm all in on Christian Fulton. I'm pretty all in on Jalen Watson if he can stay healthy. Safety group looks pretty darn good, even if it's a slight step back from last year. But yeah, I'll say early on there'll be some slight hiccups in the secondary without their veteran guy.
This even harkens back the highly paid safety thing to before Steve Spagnuolo, because Eric Berry was in town. So it's been a long time since they didn't have a highly paid kind of ringleader as a safety in the secondary. Oh, I'm pumping. I did not like what I saw in the safety room last year. I just didn't. Jaden Hicks, I'm encouraged, but I don't want to say demoralized by Shamari Connor, but I thought Shamari Connor was the next great secondary find for Brett Veach. And he took a massive step back last year. There's no other way to put it. Now, part of that was I think he was incorrectly used. I just don't think he has the foot speed to be utilized the way they were using him. And they were a little stubborn. They were a little stubborn with it. And frankly, I think that their Jalen Watson's injury kind of put them in a bind, because it was either, I don't know, if they move Trent McDuffie back inside, now they might have two bad corners outside, right? And you can't do that. You can't do that. So it was kind of pick your poison. But Brian Cook, he kind of just is what he is. He's a playable guy, but I think he is if he's above replacement level, it's barely. And maybe part of that is the injury, just never the same after that. We've seen that before with safeties. Juan Thornhill is a textbook example. I'm a little worried about this room, but I like that they brought Mike Edwards back. And I think we have to look at them letting Justin Reed go and not backfilling him as a vote of confidence for Jaden Hicks.
Yeah, agreed. Someone not named Isaiah Pacheco will lead the running backs in total yards next season. Pump or dump?
Ooh, this is getting into hot take kingdom territory. I'm going to think this through. I don't think it's Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt will be serviceable if he's on the roster. I think he would be kind of a short yardage ace and a guy that can kind of take some volume off Pacheco's plate. I don't know that Rashee Smith is going to get the ramp up in time to really, especially as a rusher. You know, I think he's going to catch a fair amount of passes. I mean, 40 passes is a fair projection for maybe Rashee Smith. The wild card here is Elijah Mitchell. If Isaiah Pacheco is still not himself, if all the injuries and the wear and tear have kind of worn him down and he's lost a step and the vision is still lacking, and Eli Mitchell stays healthy and just comes in and just tears it up, that's the one guy I could see doing it. But again, his health track record is even much more spotty than Pacheco's. So I'm going to dump, but it's not impossible.
I'm pumping. Yeah, I think someone else will. I'm just going to take the field. If you said Pacheco versus the field, I'm taking the field. Yeah, I don't know. It honestly might even be Kareem Hunt with like 600 yards, and I wouldn't be surprised. Well, there's going to be a rotation. I just think it's going to be. I think Kareem Hunt has the easiest track record of the easiest path of making this roster outside of Rashee Smith, because Kareem Hunt's the only guy that's your short yardage back. The only guy you trust in that situation. He's your best pass protector. Kareem Hunt looked good when he wasn't overused. When he first came back to KC, he looked really, really good. I know he's not going to have the top end speed or any of that elite athleticism anymore, but he still was very effective when he first came back to KC and then got overused and wore down. Yeah, I think Elijah Mitchell's the interesting one overall because of what I think he could do and can do. But again, that health is such a huge concern. And then Smith, I just don't know what to expect. Yeah, right now, I almost think that I would take Kareem Hunt as the leader in touchdowns and maybe even the leader in total scrimmage yards, just because I think he's going to play in all 17 games, and I can clearly see his path on this team. Pacheco and Mitchell, if you told me one of those two guys didn't make it, I don't know if I'd be that surprised.
Mm-hmm. The reason I'm rooting against Kareem Hunt being the leader is because I think a Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco split where they're the two lead dogs in terms of rushing, no explosive runs. You're taking those off the table for yourselves. Isaiah Pacheco doesn't have the vision, doesn't have the feel. Kareem Hunt doesn't have the speed.
That's why I said it could be Kareem and Elijah or Kareem and Rashee Smith.
Right.
I would like. I think it's hard. I think the hardest guy, and again, I bet he makes the roster, and I'm rooting for him. I really am rooting for Pacheco to come back and look good after injury. But I have the hardest time seeing what he does that the other three guys don't do. Kareem Hunt has the elite vision and best pass protector. Rashee Smith is the best receiving back on it. Elijah Mitchell probably has, you could say Rashee Smith, but Elijah Mitchell has maybe the best one-cut ability, the best explosive running ability, right? So I'm sitting here going, I don't know what Pacheco does better than those three guys, like a specific attribute. He's very physical, but Kareem Hunt is too, I don't know.
He's built more than the other guys at this juncture in his career to absorb 15 to 20 carries a game. That's what it is. I don't think Kareem Hunt is really built for that anymore. He's just too long in the tooth. I mean, he's taken I didn't think he would hold up as well as he did last season. So I was impressed, but they were just asking too much from a running back with that many miles on his tires. So the Chiefs should not let Patrick Mahomes play in the Olympics as a flag football quarterback. This is a fun one. Pump or dump?
Dump. Whatever he wants, he should do. This is the only time that you can win a gold medal for your country. This is pretty cool. I don't think he's going to be it, by the way. I would imagine if you're actually trying to make this roster, it'd be Lamar Jackson, it'd be Jaden Daniels. It's also 4 years away from now. So Patrick would be, 32, 33, 3.5 years, whatever it'd be. He'd be 33-ish. Come on. You're going to get someone.
3 years, right?
Yeah, but you'd probably get someone who's a little more. I'm not saying he's not athletic by any means, but you're probably getting someone with more running ability, which would be Lamar, which would be Jaden Daniels. Along, I mean, if you're telling me in 3 years, who is it? I actually might go with Jaden Daniels is probably who the guy is. But if he wants to, and they're like, he's our first choice, I don't think the Chiefs are in any position to tell him no. I think that this is a really cool thing. I know Chiefs fans might not like it because of the risk of injury, which I get. I understand that. Just where I'm coming from is all these players want to. Aaron Jones has talked about it, how, like, if you're not in the military, this is your one thing you can do for your country to really help, help stand out. You can win a gold medal for the United States of America. I just think it was so cool. A lot of these professional athletes talking about doing it for the United States. I thought it was really cool. Give me some goosebumps. USA, baby. Bald Eagles. So if Patrick wants to, and he's the USA's first choice, I'm all in. Let him do it.
Aaron Jones. I was like, Aaron Jones is going to be like 34 years old. But then I thought, like, he's going to be playing against some corner from Ireland or New Zealand or something. I'll take 34-year-old Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones will dice that dude up. But I'm just not an expert enough in flag football to know if Lamar Jackson's speed nullifies Patrick Mahomes having the best pocket presence. Like, he's really good at the hip mobility and spinning around and just knowing where everybody is. So I don't know. I bet he'd be a pretty good flag football player. And also, part of the reason the NFL is agreeing to this is because they're envisioning something like the 1992 Dream Team, where the entire world fell in love with basketball because of Magic, Michael, and Bird, right? And the rest of those guys, Sir Charles, Ewing, David Robinson, the list goes on and on, Karl Malone. So if you can put that dream team together as a football version, maybe the NFL, this like hardcore globalization, the push they're doing to expand the game and make it worldwide, I think they're going to want some of the faces of the league there in the Olympics. And I would guess that would include Mahomes.
Yeah. You'd only have one guy for each team, though, as a heads up. That's the rule. Only one guy from each team, unless, like, for example, the Eagles, they wouldn't do it, but this is just because I know he's Australian. You could have Jalen Hurts and Jordan Mailata because he's Australian, right? If you have an international player, so we'll find out if it's like the World Baseball Classic where dudes are going back and tracing like 3 generations away of, they're all born in America. They're like, I'll play for Team Italy. Like, I wonder how much that's going to actually happen. So that is something to keep in mind.
Xavier Worthy, too, is, I think, would be very devastating on this team given the speed.
Yeah. Travis Kelce losing 25 pounds will help him turn back the clock and put up 1,000 yards yet again. Pump or dump?
I'm a light dump. I do think it's going to help him. I'm older than you, Sterling. I have been kind of quietly worried about Travis Kelce because, you see him trying to go Coors Light for Coors Light with Mahomes. And I'm like, man, you can do that in your 20s. You get in your mid 30s, dude. Those pounds aren't shed as easy. You don't wake up the next morning and after a 30-pack of stones and just pop out of bed. I think he he's like a prize fighter who tasted his own blood and said, this relationship with Taylor Swift, everything I put on myself as an entertainer away from the football field, it's been a lot. And I don't think they're distractions, but I think he just recentered himself and said, I can take better care of my body. I can be in better shape. And if I'm a little slower than I used to be, so how can I get a little bit of my juice back? Losing some weight was the way. And I think I love the self-deprecating humor about, his love for sweets and everything. I don't know if you heard what was the podcast they did with Ben Stiller? It was pretty funny.
Yeah. I am going to have a slight dump. I think him losing weight and him getting focused and all of this is outstanding. I really do think Travis Kelce is going into his last year. And when guys go into their last year and know it's their final time playing professional football or professional sport, they're able to dig deep and give everything they have because they know they're not going to leave anything on the table. I always go back to David Ortiz with the Boston Red Sox, right? Everyone's like, dog, you're not done. You should come back. But I'm sitting here going, he probably gave it all he had. He's like, I'm going to give every single ounce I have this final season. I have nothing left in the tank. It's gone. Albert Pujols was horrible for the last however many years of his career. Second half, he goes back to the Cardinals and is like, all right, this is probably it for me. I'm done. So I'm going to give everything I have. And then he raked. So I think we'll see that from Travis Kelce. The reason it's a slight dump, I don't know if he gets 1,000 yards, not necessarily because it's his fault, but because the rest of the offense is so good. There are so many more weapons and mouths to feed if Hollywood stays healthy, if Xavier stays healthy, if Rashee Rice stays healthy and looks good and does not get suspended, right? Like, I just think there's so many more options. I think 12 personnel will play a huge factor in this as well. I think Travis Kelce is a lot more efficient this year. Like, I think we see the efficiency numbers go back up for Travis, even if the counting stats might be similar to what they were last year.
A little bit lighter, you could see him being a little bit better in the yak game, but also his conditioning late in games, late in the season, that could pay dividends for him. All right, guys, let's get you out of here. But before we do, we're going to hit you with what's spinning. Sterling, what are you listening to?
Yeah, so I'll say Butch Walker. Butch Walker is a really good producer. He was in a couple of bands, one called South Gang, one called Marvelous 3. Loved Marvelous 3, but he's produced for so many different people. I don't have it pulled up necessarily. Let me see if I can find out in front of me. I don't have it in front of me. He's produced for, if you like the band, odds are he's produced for them. Just very, very talented. I like a lot of his solo stuff as well, but I found something else cool because of him. So he helped produce the song 1985, right? You guys know the song 1985, right? We all think Bowling for Soup, right? We're like, yeah, it's Bowling for Soup. Fun fact, it wasn't Bowling for Soup. That was a cover right around the same time because he was a producer for Bowling for Soup, same as he was for a band called SR-71. SR-71 originally had that song. They eventually put it out, but only in, I think, Japan is what it was. It was a very interesting conversation. So I went on a little bit of a deep dive here. But 1985 was originally a song by SR-71, and because of the producer Butch Walker, they eventually came together. Bowling for Soup did it, and then Bowling for Soup's version became the massive song that it is today. But the original one is
that Iggy Pop recorded China Girl before Bowie. Blinded by the Light was a Bruce Springsteen song before Manfred Mann and them blew it up. I mean, It's My Life is not a No Doubt song. It's a talk song. So even with Cat Stevens, I think the first cut is the deepest. That was, and I could probably rattle off 10, 20 more, but sometimes the author of the song is not the best one to bring out the magic. So
yeah.
For me, I'm going to go with a rapper producer duo, Mad Gibbs, Freddie Gibbs, and Madlib. 2 albums together, Pinata in 2014, Bandana in 2019. I think this is maybe the most underrated rapper of all time, Freddie Gibbs out of Indiana. I guess it's Indiana Day here on Arrowhead Addict. Dude just can rap his ass off. And there's something about those beats that are just perfect. And it's just, I like albums, and this is hard to find with hip hop, that you can just throw on and listen to the whole thing through. I think it's very rare in hip hop. It's very rare in all music, the ones that you feel like there's no filler and the arrangement of the songs really slaps, and it's smooth the whole way out. I think both of these albums are like that. So Pinata and Bandana, check them out. But that is all we've got for you guys. Props to the chat. You guys always bring it. If you dig AA, here's some ways you can help Sterling and I out. Subscribe on YouTube. If you haven't yet, what are you doing? That way you never miss a show. If you're more of an audio listener, you can check us out on Spotify or Apple, but be sure to leave us a review there. I mean, that's really going to go a long ways to helping other Chiefs fans find Arrowhead Addict. And on Apple, please consider with your review, your 5-star review, dropping us a question. We will answer it live on the air. Patrick Allen will take care of that on the OG Hour. Lastly here, the mothership, arrowheadaddict.com, Matt Connor and the gang will keep you up to date all summer long. There's always stuff going on. Even when you think there isn't, there's always stuff going on. I know today I saw that somewhere that Trent McDuffie was number 5 on PFF's best players under 25 list. Quite the accolade, man. Number 5. So there you go. Join us live next Friday at 3 p.m. Central right here on the Arrowhead Addict channel. Until then, go Chiefs.